this module here, this custom participant export, might be one of those modules that could be helpful for some people, but I'm not sure. Basically what it does is it enables custom participant exports as a CSV from the participant list. So it's for surveys, any projects that you have with surveys enabled. It gives you a way to export custom data fields. So I believe this one is already enabled, but let me double check. So it is. And then the only configuration is which fields you want to export. And basically it gives you a list of all the fields that are available in your project, and you would just select which field you want and what column name you want to give it. So if I add another one here, I'll just add email address, and we'll just call it email address, and we'll save it. Now, to find out where this module functionality lives, it lives in the participant list for surveys. So we would go to the survey distribution tools, and I just have, let me look at my records here. I just have one record here. And if we click on the participant list in the survey distribution tools, it adds this button here for custom export. And so to show you, this export list exists automatically. And so if we click on this, this is what is exported by default when you have a survey. So it's basically just the email address of the person, the record number, whether the invitation was sent, whether they responded, what the survey access code is, and then what the survey link is for that survey. And this would be helpful if you have multiple surveys. Every survey gets a unique link in REDCap. Every survey gets a unique access code, I believe. I'm not sure if I don't think the access code is tied to the record specifically. I think it's per survey per event. So if you could have an event. You could have multiple events. It's per survey? Okay. You could have multiple events, and those surveys are in each event. So every time you go to a new event, that's basically a new survey. And you can see that here in the participant list. I believe I have, let me see if there's, nope. Yeah. So I have 2 surveys here, and I've only filled out, so I think I filled out both of them. So if I exported this one, it would only give me the data for the patient morale questionnaire, which is one of the default template instruments that you can put in with REDCap. But this is all that comes out when you just do the export. So if you want additional data, like we had selected first name, last name, email address. If I do a custom export, so now this gives you it gives you the record ID, it gives you the access code, and then it gives you the hash, which I believe is the code at the end of the survey. So it doesn't give you the survey link. It just gives you the hash at the end of the link. It doesn't tell you whether the invitation was sent or that they responded. But then it gives you the fields that you had specified. First name, last name, and email address. So this would probably be helpful for somebody who wants to keep this information separate. Like if they were running a project with a bunch of surveys and they wanted to export this on a monthly basis or something like that, so they could have all the access codes, all the hash codes, and then, you know, basic demographic information. That way, if somebody emails them and says, hey, I didn't get my survey, or, you know, anything like that, they could just look at their name up in this list, you know, and they could send them an email with this access code or this hash, so with the link, so that they can get back to it. You can also do this in REDCap. So if I go here, I mean, I could just find the participant this way, and I could just send the link again, or I could, you know, check if an invitation was sent, that kind of thing here. So I don't know how useful it would be to do that. It might be more useful to, if you had additional data that you wanted to sort of export that was linked to a participant, and maybe, you know, if you were uploading it to another system, that might be better. So where you have these links and this data, that way, you know, it's just another way to export data, because you can export data this way. You can just export all the data or selected instruments this way. So it's just another option for exporting data that you get to set up, and, you know, be as creative as you want. Just whatever field data you want to export. So one of the things I was interested in this is, let me go to my survey, because I think, so these are radio buttons. This is a drop down, and so I wanted to see how that data was exported. And just for okay, yeah, so this one just lets me select one. It would be interesting to do, I'm going to change that to, because I'm just curious how the data is going to pull out, and I want to see how it handles multiple records or multiple values. So I'm just going to change gender to a drop down, since I only want a single, and I'm going to change race to multiple choice. We'll just get rid of more than one. Don't do that if you're in a live project, because then you just mess up your data, and you don't want to rename fields and things and values if you're doing it in a live project. I just want to see how the data gets handled when you have multiple selected. So we'll go back to the record, and I'm just going to check all of these for fun. And okay, so now I'm going to save, and we'll go back to the survey distribution tools, participant list, and custom export. And that's what I was afraid of, is that it's giving me 5 for the race when it really should be multiple values. Yep, let me go back to the record here. So I have, unless 1, 2, 3, well, there's 6, so I was thinking maybe it counted them all, but no. It should have multiple values, and the one I had selected first was that one. It was white, and that was 5, I believe, or 4, I can't remember, but it's not giving me that value here. So that, you know, that's one of the things that whenever you're using a module, it's good to try to see how it's actually going to work with your data, because we've run into this a lot of times where Modules work for most things, but we've had some modules that just don't work with data matrix fields and things like that. And here you can see that it's not giving me the data for race. And so if I had this set up for an export and I wasn't checking this and I, ran this export, that the data for that field is not going to be correct. So that's just something that you guys want to keep in mind whenever you're using these external modules, is to test them out as much as you can before when you implement them. And if they don't work, you can always let us know. You can say, if you have the data and you go, hey, I have this set up like this. I have a check, I have race field that has multiple check boxes. I've checked multiple boxes. It's not giving me that. If you've done it a few times where you have some data, you can always send that to us, and we can always contact the developer of the external module. A lot of them have the data, or a lot of them have the code and the projects on GitHub. And we've done it before where we've emailed them, and they're really nice about explaining, because they're people too. They code, and they may not be thinking of all the corner cases, and so it helps them build make a better external module when they know somebody's trying to use it and it's not working for a particular thing. I've had developers fix something for me, and then they'll upload a new version of the module in the REDCap on the REDCap site, and then we just upload the new version, and then it works. And so that's always good to know if you have a project that you're using an external module and it's not working correctly. Some of the projects, some of the modules, like the one we had with Data Matrix, like that was just the way they did the module just was not compatible with Data Matrix fields. So that's just kind of the limitation of it. And it's, sometimes it gets fixed, and and sometimes it doesn't. So that's the custom participant export. I don't know how helpful that would be. I'm sure somebody would find that useful. But we'd like to demo it for you anyway, just so you know that it's out there. Does anybody have any questions?